as no single black card stood out as major power outlier played by all decks containing black. Invoke Despair. Like, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Average Planeswalker. This is October 10th. We're going to be talking about the BNR that happened this morning, the ban and restricted announcement for Magic, and I'm going to give my 2 cents on it because I think there's a lot of wrong things here. Alright, start off, we're going to standard. Meathook Massacre is banned. Modern, Yorion Sky Nomad is banned. I think both of those are the wrong ones to ban in both formats. I've been playing Arena for quite some time this season already, and in the newest deck I have, I'm at 18 hours just on that deck alone being played, and I hardly ever see Meathook Massacre. I've probably seen it a handful of times, and for some reason this season Meathook just is not as powerful as it was last season. It's just not hitting as hard, it's not as effective, and it's just not as big of a deal as it used to be. So Meathook is the wrong ban for standard, honestly. Which will take us to Shieldred being a topic of discussion because a lot of people are thinking to themselves that Shieldred should be banned, but Tinfoil Hat here. You know what? Let me go back and put the Tinfoil Hat on with Meathook. So they got all their money out. All the boxes have been sold that they wanted to. They've made their profits and everything from that set. And they're seeing that the price just keeps going higher and higher and higher. And they want to lower that price. So they can sell more boxes. And to do that, they ban this card. That way EDH players have access to this card. Because a lot of EDH players aren't going to put out the money for this one card. Because they might need maybe one, two, or three, between 1 and 3 of them for different decks, you know? So banning it dropped it $20 to $25 already, which makes boxes to try and crack, because a lot of EDH players like to try and crack boxes. It lets them buy those boxes and try to crack for that card. Or if they just want to buy the single, it's more affordable to them now. And so I think that's, again, my tinfoil hat. I think it's a big reason why that's still, or why that got banned as well, because this card is mostly seen in sideboards. There might be 1 or 2 of it in a main board, but the remainder are usually in the sideboard in standard. So there's no real. This isn't as much of a threat as it was last season. Tinfoil hat, put it back on. Actually, we didn't take it off. Obviously, they're not going to they're not going to ban Sheldred. We know this for the last few years, that they will not ban a mythic or a rare from a set based on sales and them wanting to make money and a set just coming out. Just not going to happen. It's unfortunate. Sheldred is very powerful. She is very, very powerful at a 4-drop. So she's not going to be getting banned anytime soon, because that is the card that is pushing Dominaria United right now. And as much as people want to see this card gone already from standard, it's only been a few weeks, just shows how powerful it is. So they say, as often the case, the standard card pull rotation will, with the release of Dominaria United, caused quite a shakeup, with cards from the new set finding their places into decks, and many of last year's cards shifting context within the new metagame. As the format has settled into place, the color black has proven powerful and prolific, and makes up for the foundation of many top decks. It does. And if you look back at one of my other videos checking out the standard format and the meta, black is very prominent. It's very, very... It's the biggest color in Magic right now. For standard, I should say. For standard. Despite that commonly shared color, we're seeing good diversity among competitive decks and strategies, and player engagement with the format has been healthy. I'd say that's false. It hasn't been that healthy. There is diversity. That's true. But the diversity from the color black is not there. Like, almost every deck is running black. I run Bant Control, and I'm running black because I play Tear Asunder, which is a green card with a black kicker. because black is so powerful. And it just reminds me back in the Eldraine days where green and blue Simic was just over the top with Uro, Oko, Once Upon a Time, Veil of Summer. I feel like I'm missing one, but you get the idea. Like we're kind of in another era of that, but it's just for black cards this time. So healthy, I don't know about that because of a specific card. Invoke Despair is the card that should have been banned. Um, and I did a whole video about that. Invoke Despair is seeing more play than Meathook, honestly. Between 5-color decks or 4-color decks that play it and then play to Inferno to copy it, or mono black decks that play it as a 4 of, or Grixis control decks that play it as a 4 of, that is the card that should have been hit. And I did a whole video about that as well. You can go check that out. But we're gonna see that like standard isn't gonna change. Meathook does nothing to the format. It does absolutely nothing. To provide a small push against the color black's play rate among competitive decks, we're choosing to ban one black. Yeah, that's not going to do anything to mono black. That is not going to do a thing to mono black. If anything, there is they still have a card drag to the bottom. Drag to the bottom is domain. Each creature gets a -X until end of turn, where X is 1 plus the number of basic land types among lands you control. So mono black probably won't be using that, but the Grixis deck, the 4-color decks and 5-color decks can easily still run that and not have to worry about Meathook. And it's 2 black and 2, and then it could -6 at the most. So there's still other avenues to replace the card, but yeah, I don't know. I don't agree with what they're saying. Anyway, we discussed several different options, as no single black card stood out as major power outlier played by all decks containing black. Invoke Despair. Like, I don't know how many times I have to say it. Ultimately, we decided that banning the Meathook Massacre was the best choice, as it's one of the most powerful black cards in the format. Is especially powerful against specific archetypes, decks relying on a lot of small creatures, and has had its time to shine in standard for over. And there it is. So had its time to shine. We've had enough revenue come in. We feel comfortable banning this now. Like, I don't like the wording that they put there again, tinfoil hat on, but at the same time, from what you've seen, you can't really say that I'm wrong. We know how they do bannings. The majority of them don't make sense. When they banned Mox Opal, they destroyed an entire archetype. Affinity died, and they should have banned Urza, but they couldn't ban Urza because that set had just came out. Modern Horizons 1 just came out. So they don't do bannings anymore geared towards the player base and how proper and what it's actually going to do for the game and for the meta. They do it based on their sales and what they're selling and their profits and everything, and it sucks. It really sucks because it doesn't really help the game. Decks relying on a lot of small creatures, so apparently they're wanting some aggro to come back into the format. Although, again, like I just said, drag to the bottom is still around. We have the best, probably one of the best board wipes in white, is Temporary Lockdown. I'm even playing that in Modern. That thing is doing work. It's an enchantment for 1 and 2 white, and it exiles each non-land permanent with converted mana cost 2 or less until it leaves the battlefield. Like, that is just destroying a lot of early aggro and everything. With Brothers War on the horizon, we anticipate new cards entering the format and provide tools for other decks and color combinations. In the meantime, we expect this little shakeup will help keep standard enjoyable and trending toward an even healthier spot going forward as the card pool expands. Yeah, I don't know about that. But this is what should have been hit. This right here is what should have been hit for standard. Meathook could have been left to the side. And it eventually would have, honestly, it probably not necessarily rotated out, but it probably would have just seen less play. And so it's already in the sideboards. And there's like a 1 or 2 of in the main for most decks, but this is a 4 of in the main for most decks. So yeah, that was a big miss on their part, and I think it's a big miss on the community's part, to be honest, because nobody's talking about banning this, and this needs to go. But but I mean, I'm a small channel. So what can I do? So when it comes to the Shieldred aspect, because this is a new set, she's not going to be seeing any ban. As you can see, she hasn't had enough time to shine yet. So give it a year, and then she'll be banned. Yeah. So now we move on to Modern. Yorion got banned in Modern. Again, wrong hit. This is the wrong hit because next is going to be Gigantha, and at this point, the companion mechanic has been an utter fail, complete failure. They should just get rid of it and not consider a ban. So let's read into this. Modern has been a healthy place since the last banned and restricted update. False. With good diversity among archetypes and even most popular competitive decks occupying a relatively small slice of the metagame, about 5 to 6% each on Magic Online. However, the tabletop Modern play continues to rebound since the height of the pandemic. We've decided to enact a change that we've been considering for some time by banning Yorion Sky Nomad. Yorion most commonly appears in the companion and 4-color Omnath decks. Yep, that has been the #1 deck for a couple months now, which show a strong win rate and according to our matchup data are likely to continue rising popularity. It'll only rise in popularity for those who can afford it. The Yorion deck in Modern is pay to win. I can't remember if I mentioned that in my other Can You Afford Magic video or not, but Yorion is pay to win. It's the most pay to win deck in Modern. It's almost $2,000, if not higher now, you know? So, or not now because of the banning, but just like the last time I checked, I think was a few weeks ago, it could have gone up because of fluctuating of market prices and everything. But anyway, the Yorion Omnath deck is pay to win. Like if you can afford that deck, you have a very high % chance of winning the match, the tournament. It is what it is. In addition to game balance concerns with the deck, we're also factoring in the physical dexterity requirements of playing with a large deck for tabletop. Okay, I think that's BS. They did the same thing with kind of the same thing with the cat and the witch oven combo. They said they kind of got rid of it because there were so many different types of interactions happening that you would have to click through for arena and everything that the time that it took to do it was so much. So in this situation, I don't know of any like huge Modern tournaments happening. We don't have any. We hardly have Modern here where I live, and whether you have a big 80 card deck and you have to shuffle because of fetch lands or not, it doesn't matter. You're still having to shuffle with fetch lands in Modern. So I think that's just a kind of poor excuse for it. Now, if you're playing something like they mentioned right here, we're wary of the metagame reaching a point where players are playing the deck because of its perceived strength and win rate despite not enjoying how cumbersome it can be to operate. Okay, here we go. While these physical dexterity issues exist to a lesser degree in other formats like Pioneer, Modern specifically entails more shuffling and other physical card manipulation because of the deep card pool of card selection spells, fetch lands, and so on. Cards concerning large decks like Battle of Wits have existed in the past, but usually on the fringes of competitive play rather than one as strong as the decks. Okay, so Battle of Wits, that's 200 cards. That is completely different from 80. And I've had a friend play Battle of Wits and in draft. He drafted Battle of Wits when it was in Standard, and he won one match. He didn't win the whole thing, but he won one match. It was awesome. But shuffling that, yeah, I can understand that. But 80 cards with Yorion, we've been doing it since Standard. How come all of a sudden now it's a problem to shuffle that card? Like we had Fabled Passage for our pseudo fetch for Standard, and we had Evolving Wilds, and there were shuffle effects in there in Standard when the card was there. So I mean, why is this a problem now? That's a poor excuse. Finally, we've also heard that many players that repeated triggers caused by Yorion and many of the cards surrounding it lead to repetitive gameplay patterns and long games with lots of downtime between others playing actions. Again, it's just coming down to like people are get bored playing against it, I guess. In all honesty, all the Modern games I've played, and I've played against a lot of Yorion Omnath, Yorion hardly comes out because Omnath gets the job done quicker and better. Because once you put an Omnath out with like 1 or 2 fetches that you've saved, you're gaining 4 life, you're creating 5 mana, and then you're playing like an Evoke Elemental, or you're playing something else that is just as powerful. and then you fetch your other land, and you still have the last part where you deal 4 damage. Excuse me. So the Omnath alone kind of puts you so far ahead of the game that Yorion I haven't seen really do much, to be honest. Um, so it's important that the net player experience playing with the top decks is a fun one, and while we're okay with such decks existing, it can make the format less enjoyable when these patterns are associated with one of the strongest decks over a long period of time. Therefore, to make Modern as fun and accessible as it can for all types of play, it's been banned. Okay, Yorn's been banned. Okay, that last line, that's so stupid. To make Modern as fun and accessible, if you ban Yorion, you just take the flicker effect away. You can still technically play 80 cards and play that entire deck. Yorion costs like a few bucks. So it doesn't give access to players still because that deck is still $2,000. It doesn't really change the deck because sure you don't have the flicker effect from Yorion, but Omnath and everything else you have in that deck will still get the job done. This is a bad play. Personally, they should have banned all these. These should have been gone. All of them. All evoke elementals should have been banned. That would mix up the meta. That would go ahead and change the entire game around for Modern. That would open up a lot more play patterns and everything, and it would ease accessibility for players. Fury, I think, are like 40 bucks. Solitudes are 40 to 50, possibly even 60. Endurance, I think, are like 60, 70. Subtleties are like between 10 to 15, and Griefs, I think, are between 15 to 20. And you're usually needing 4 of those. Like, there's a good chunk of a couple of $100 that you haven't even got to the lands yet. You haven't even got to the fetch lands yet. So banning the evoke elementals should have been the hit. I wish it was the hit. And I play blue white control, so I'll play Solitude. It's just a 2 of, but I play Solitude and Subtlety. And I just traded Subtleties from somebody just this last week. I still want these banned. Like, I don't care if I'm losing out. If these get banned and it helps the format, I'd rather that, and I'll lose whatever I did to get these. Whatever, I don't care. Because I want the format to be better and more diverse than what it is right now. And you can't really do anything. Fury wipes a board. If you have a Planeswalker out and a couple creatures, say bye to those because they're not surviving. Solitude, free, was it Swords of Plowshare? Yeah, I think it was Swords of Plowshare. I could be wrong on that. I'm just not thinking right now. Endurance will get your graveyard back, and it only costs 2 and a colorless, so it only costs 3. Subtlety is just a better Venser. And Grief with Ephemerate is just ridiculous. 2 Thoughtseize, and you get a 3/2 for free. Or excuse me, for 1 white. That's ridiculous. So yeah, that's my take on those. I'm not the biggest fan of the BNR that happened this morning, so yeah, go check out my ban invoke despair video, and also Can You Afford Magic? And I'm gonna be streaming again here the next day or two my Bant list, which is very fun. I've been loving that deck. So yeah, thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it, and I will catch you guys later. Peace.